The Mikoyan MiG-29, a twin-engine fighter aircraft designed in the Soviet Union, developed by Mikoyan Design Bureau as an air superiority fighter during the 1970s. The MiG-29, along with the larger Sukhoi 27, was developed to counter U.S. fighters such as the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, both planes we've covered on this channel. The MiG-29 entered service with the Soviet Air Forces in 1983. While originally oriented towards combat against any enemy aircraft, the MiG-29s have been furnished as a multi-role fighters capable of performing a number of different operations and are commonly outfitted to use a range of air-to-air or air-to-surface armaments and precision munitions. MiG-29 has been manufactured in several major variants, including the multi-role Mikoyan MiG-29M and the navalized Mikoyan MiG-29K. The most advanced member of the family to date is the Mikoyan MiG-35. Later models frequently feature improved designs, glass cockpits with HOTAS-capable flight controls, modern radar, and infrared search and track, IRST, sensors, and considerably increased fuel capacity. Some aircraft have also been equipped with aerial refueling. I don't know why you wouldn't equip all of them with aerial refueling, but whatever. I mean, I guess that's just how things work, right? Fucking weird. Cutting costs wherever they could. The fucking Soviet Union. Can you blame it on them? They were in the decline and they had a shitty start. I mean, what can you do? Communism sucks. Bummer. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the militaries of multiple ex-Soviet republics have continued to operate the MiG-29, the largest of them being the Russian Aerospace Forces. The Russian Aerospace Forces wanted to upgrade its existing fleet to the modernized MiG-29 SMT configuration, but financial difficulties have limited deliveries. The MiG-29 has also been a popular export aircraft. More than 30 nations either operate or have operated the aircraft. As of 2024, Flight Global estimates that 809 MiG-29s of all types are in service with air forces, making it the fifth most common active fighter currently used today. In the mid-1960s, the United States Air Force encountered difficulties over the skies of Vietnam. Supersonic fighter bombers that had been optimized for low-altitude bombing, like the F-105 Thunder Chief, were found to be vulnerable to older MiG-17s and more advanced MiGs, which were much more maneuverable. In order to regain the limited air superiority enjoyed over Vietnam, the United States refocused on air combat using the F-4 Phantom multi-role fighter, while the Soviet Union developed the MiG-23 in response. Towards the end of the 1960s, the United States Air Force started the FX program, which we talked about on last stream, to produce a fighter dedicated to air superiority, which led to McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle being ordered for production in late 1969. Talked about that one on the last stream. At the height of the Cold War, a Soviet response was necessary to avoid the possibility of Americans gaining serious technological advantage over the Soviets. Thus, development of a new air superiority fighter became priority. In 1969, the Soviet General Staff issued a requirement. Specifications were extremely ambitious, calling for long-range, good short-field performance, excellent agility, Mach 2 plus speed, and heavy armament. The Russian Aerodynamics Institute, TSAGI, worked in collaboration with Sukhoi Design Bureau on aircraft's aerodynamics. By 1971, however, Soviet studies determined the need for different types of fighters. The PFI program was supplemented with the Perpetskidvini Lyodki Frontovi Istrabitel? Fucking, I don't know. Tried to read that as Russian as I could and failed it. Probably butchered the shit out of that name. Program. The Soviet Union, the Soviet fighter force was planned to be approximately 33% PFI and 67% LPFI. PFI and LPFI paralleled the USAF's decision that created a lightweight fighter program and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon and the Northrop YF-17. The PFI fighter was assigned to Sukhoi, resulting in the Sukhoi Su-27, while the lightweight fighter went to Mikoyan. Detailed design work on the resultant Mikoyan Project 9 designated MiG-29A, which is what we're flying in this mission here, began in 1974. The first flight taking place on October 6, 1977. The pre-production aircraft was first spotted by United States reconnaissance satellites in November of that year. It was dubbed Ram-L because it was observed at the Zhukovsky Flight Test Center near the town of Ramenskoye. The workload split between TPFI and LPFI became more apparent as MiG-29 filtered into frontline service with the Soviet Air Forces in the mid-1980s, while the heavy, long-range Su-27 was tasked with the more exotic and dangerous role of deep air sweeps of NATO high-value assets. The smaller MiG-29 directly replaced the MiG-23 in the frontal aviation role. In the West, the new fighter was given the NATO reporting name Fulcrum A because the pre-production MiG-29A, which should have logically received this designation, remained unknown in the West at the time. The Soviet Union did not assign official names to most of its aircraft, although nicknames were common. Unusually, some Soviet pilots found the MiG-29's NATO reporting name, Fulcrum, to be flattering description of the aircraft's intended purpose, and it's sometimes unofficially used in Russian service. MiG-29 was widely exported in downgraded versions known as the MiG-29 912A for Warsaw Pact and MiG-29 912B for the non-Warsaw Pact nations, with less capable avionics and no capability for delivering nuclear weapons. In the 1980, Mikoyan developed the improved MiG-29S to use longer-range R-27E air-to-air missiles and added a dorsal hump to the upper fuselage to house a jamming system and some additional fuel capacity. The weapon's load was increased to 4,000 kilograms or 8,800 pounds with airframe strengthening. These features were included in new-built fighters and upgrades to older MiG-29s. Refined versions of the MiG-29 with improved avionics were fielded by the Soviet Union, but Mikoyan's multi-role variants included a carrier-based version designated MiG-29K. Were never produced in large numbers. Development of the MiG-29K carrier version was suspended for over a decade before being resumed. The type went into service with the Indian Navy's INS Vikramaditya and Russian Navy's Admiral's Kuznetsov-class aircraft carrier. Butchering names. That's how we do it. Mikoyan also developed improved versions, MiG-29M and MiG-29 SMT. There have been several upgrade programs conducted for the MiG-29. Common upgrades include the adoption of standard compatible avionics, service life extensions to 4,000 flight hours, safety enhancements, greater combat capabilities, and reliability. On the 11th of December 2013, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Rogozin revealed that Russia was planning to build a new fighter to replace the MiG-29. The Sukhoi Su-27 and its derivatives were to be replaced by the Sukhoi Su-57. But a different design was needed to replace the lighter MiGs. A previous attempt to develop a MiG-29 replacement, The MiG 1.44 demonstrator failed in the 1990s. The concept came up again in 2001 with interest from India, but they later opted for the variant of the Su-57. The Air Force commanders have hinted at the possibility of a single-engine airframe that uses Su-57's engine, radar, weapons primarily for Russian service. This has since been revealed to be the Sukhoi Su-75 Checkmate. Sharing its origins in the original PFI requirements issued by TSAGI, the MiG-29 has broad aerodynamic similarities to the Sukhoi Su-27, but with some notable differences. The MiG-29 has a mid-mounted swept wing with blended leading-edge root extensions, swept at around 40 degrees. There are swept tailplanes and 2 vertical fins mounted on booms outboard of the engines. Automatic slats are mounted on the leading edges of the wings. They are 4-segment on early models and 5-segment on some later variants. On the trailing edge, there are maneuvering flaps and wingtip ailerons. MiG-29 has hydraulic controls and a SAU-451 3-axis autopilot, but unlike the Su-27, no fly-by-wire control system. Nonetheless, it is very agile with excellent instantaneous and sustained turn performance, high alpha capability, and general resistance to spins. The airframe consists primarily of aluminum with some composite materials and is stressed for up to 9G maneuvers. Controls have soft limiters to prevent the pilot from exceeding G and alpha limits, but the limiters can be disabled manually. Of course they can. Who wants limiters? Come on. The MiG-29 has 2 widely spaced Kimlov RD-33 turbofan engines, each rated at 50 kilonewtons dry and 81.3 kilonewtons in afterburner. The space in between the engines generate lift, thereby reducing effective wing loading, hence improving maneuverability. The engines are fed through intake ramps fitted under the leading edge extensions, which have variable ramps to allow high Mach speeds. Due to their relatively short combustor, the engines produce noticeably heavier smoke than their contemporaries. As an adaptation to rough field operations, the main air inlet can be closed completely, and the auxiliary air inlet on the upper fuselage can be used for takeoff, landing, and low-altitude flying, preventing ingestion of ground debris. Thereby, the engines receive air through louvers on the leading edge extension, which open automatically when intakes are closed. However, the latest variant of the family, the MiG-35, eliminated these dorsal louvers and adopted the mesh screens design in the main intake, similar to those fitted on the Su-27. The MiG-29 has a ferry range of about 1,500 kilometers or 930 miles without external fuel tanks, and 2,100 kilometers or 1,300 miles with external fuel tanks. The internal fuel capacity of the original MiG-29 is 43,000 liters, distributed between 6 internal fuel tanks, 4,300, not 43,000, 4,300, my bad. Can't read tonight, evidently. 4,300 liters distributed between 6 internal fuel tanks, 4 in the fuselage and 1 in each wing. The internal fuel capacity of the MiG-29 is 4,540 liters. Due to a larger number 1 fuselage tank. For longer flights, this can be supplemented by a 1,500-liter centerline drop tank. Two 1,150-liter underwing drop tanks on later production batches can also be added. In addition, Newer models have been fitted with port-side in-flight refueling probes, allowing much longer flight times by using probe and drogue system.